find that I've become too comfortable with the wild foods that I forage. I've learned a couple handfuls of foods that I'm comfortable with and I know well and I know how to identify, and I kind of don't look outside of that anymore at all. And there's so much more out there. So I'm on a mission to learn some new plants to forage and eat and use as medicine.
Just start with one wrap for now. That is serious. There.
think we may have a few caterpillars again this year. They are everywhere. Clusters back there. Clusters up there. Oh boy. Oh, look at that. There's a huge one up in that tree back there. Okay, well, I've been spending more time working on this garden than I would care to admit. So I thought I would just share a little update of where we're at and what we're doing and kind of what it's all about. Yeah, I might have to stand back. So this part of the garden here, the whole garden is kind of a hybrid. This upper part, we ended up just tilling the whole section up. All I've been doing is kind of using the material I have available. So, you know, we did straw bale, no-till kind of method in the middle. Tilled up this part and tilled up the other end as well. So just kind of working with what we've got. So this area, my hope is to amend the soil a bit. So we tilled it up. I planted a bunch of different varieties of beans and lentils, actually just like store-bought stuff from the grocery store, just to take up some space. And I planted it heavy, so that hopefully it will keep all the weeds and stuff down. And then we built some rows there and have potatoes in those hills. And then surrounding all those hills is buckwheat. So the thought process is that the buckwheat will keep the weeds down, and then we can either till it in or knock it down later on in the year before it flowers and goes to seed. We might let some of it go to seed so we can harvest it, but yeah, the concept is just to fix the soil a bit and try and get some of the weeds down. And so we'll see how it works. You never do know until you try, you know. And then having some definite difficulties with germination this year. It's been a really kind of a crazy year as far as germination is concerned. It got really cold for a while there when it typically is meant to be a little bit warmer. So that was definitely a struggle. But in the no-till section, these rows behind me are planted now with crucifers, and they actually seem to be doing pretty well. Oh, some paper towel blew in there. So they're all transplants and they seem to be keeping pretty well. Yeah, I think they'll be fine. There's a few things that I seeded in there as well. Oz, is that helpful, walking all over everything? Man, this is the struggle. Seriously. It's like so freaking difficult to keep these animals. Hey. Out. Yeah, there's 10 dead cabbages. Yeah. Anyways. So yeah, those are planted with crucifers, those first 4 rows, and are doing well. And then all the rest of this side of the garden is in potatoes. So they're just in rows, no-till method, but just kind of standard short, narrow rows. And then behind me here, I built these rows a little bit different. So They're about 3 feet wide. They're kind of double the width of all the other ones, and they're bedded with straw underneath them. So they should be really low maintenance, and they're deep bedded with mulch around them. So they should be really shouldn't really require a whole bunch of watering. So they're all root crop, beets and carrots in these ones. So I think they'll do pretty well, actually. It'll be interesting to see, but I just planted them yesterday, so they're not even germinated yet, and I've got them covered to let them germinate and to keep these animals you can see from digging and pooping and destroying. I got one little row of tomatoes. I had a few tomato plants left over, so we put the tomatoes outside. They're doing good so far. And these rows I'm not so sure of. So all the rest of the no-till, I planted around the same time that I would normally, but I don't know what happened this year. It got cooler and it was dry for a while, and I don't know. I'm giving them maybe another week to germinate, and then I'm going to till this whole thing under, or not till it, but just, hoe it and replant it all, because I really don't think anything is took in here. There's the odd calendula or different thing like flower that I put in there that has come up, but for the most part it really hasn't germinated, other than grass and lamb's quarter and stuff, like wild kind of plants that were in the soil already. So yeah, same with this area, all around the seeding area. It's all stuff I planted really early, and none of it has come up. None of it's doing anything, so it may all have to get replanted at some point here pretty soon. And then planted a whole bunch of strawberry plants. There's about 25. We bought a bunch of bare root strawberries. And then I actually transplanted about 10 wild strawberry plants in here as well. So they're all in there in this little patch in front of the greenhouse, kind of mulched in, and I think they should be pretty happy in there. So far they're taking, and they've kind of doubled their leaves in the last 2 weeks or whatever it's been. So I think they'll do pretty well in there. We've got pickling cukes and peas along the side of the greenhouse there. So I'm going to build a trellis at some point up there once they start going, and have them trellising up the side of the greenhouse. Oh, my shoulder's getting sore. And then I planted some potatoes just in the ground here in this back little patch. So I don't know how they'll do, to be honest, back in here. And it's kind of heavy clay-ish soil. So yeah, I'm not sure. It's kind of a trial and error sort of thing, but we'll give it a go. I thought it was a good use of the space, and might as well grow as many potatoes as we can if we're gonna grow something in the space. And then out behind the greenhouse, I'll try and get to a spot where we can see it all. I planted, basically this whole patch is Three Sisters. So there's squash, corn, beans, and actually sunflowers. So it's kind of Four Sisters. I initially planted this with sunflowers, and then kind of realized that I'd like to utilize the space a little bit differently. So I put kind of tilted back under, and whatever sunflowers survive, they do. And then I added Three Sisters to it. So I think it'll do pretty well. So far the corn is taken and is seems to be thriving. So yeah, that'll be good. And I think I'll turn this around. Oh, Lila, that's helpful. Yeah, so the tomatoes, these are the tomatoes that I had hardening off for quite some time, and they are doing very well. They have taken root and they're sturdy and they're doing awesome. They've got quite big fruit on them already, on quite a few of them. Yeah, I think I've got high hopes for this tomato crop this year. It is the year of the tomato. The cannabis is doing really, really well. I haven't grown cannabis for years. Don't use it that way, but might make some medicinal stuff with it, or who knows. But had the seeds, so thought it was a fun little experiment to try. These were the later tomatoes that we put in. They didn't really get hardened off, they just got put in here. So they're still pretty stringy and a little bit weak, but they're coming together okay. They're starting, you can tell they're starting to take root because their top leaves are starting to bush out a little bit and darken up. Got a little fennel plant coming up there, some morning glory that we're gonna trellis up the side of the greenhouse as it grows. Some flowers, I don't remember what they are. And then we planted a few seeds in the ground. There's heirloom melon in that spot, and then on the other side of the bench here there is red curry squash, which is one of our absolute favorite squashes. So it hasn't germinated yet, but I'm sure it'll come soon. A couple more flowers and a couple amaranth plants. Some lavender, and there's still some space. We're going to plant a few more things along this side yet. Some more tomatoes. These are the stringy later tomatoes. Some ginger. We germinated this on the heat mat in the house earlier on, and then brought it outside and just buried it maybe about a week and a half ago. We planted it in here, and it actually seems to be doing quite well. It's starting to leaf out fairly well, so I'd say it was a success. I don't know how much root it'll provide, but we'll see, I guess. Got a little patch of jalapenos, about 10 jalapeno plants. I'm gonna make some fermented hot sauces and things with these. And then a little bit of extra space left here. We got a few trees that we got to plant. These are peach trees, and I can't remember what the other one is. Anyways, gifts from a friend of ours, so we're gonna plant them over in our food forest over at the other homestead. And then I planted cucumbers all in all this empty space along the side of the greenhouse. I planted cucumbers all through there, and they haven't germinated yet that I can see, but I'm sure they'll be up any moment now because the soil's nice and warm in here. So, yeah, that is that. Oh, and Meg's prized possessions, her beautiful snapdragon baskets and her cactus collection, which is growing by the minute, and they seem to be really thriving in here. They're doing really, really quite well. So, and then we've got a bunch of little rat tail cactuses on the shelf there, germinating or rooting, I should say, just coming to life. So those will be future rat tail beasts. And yeah, that's about what we've got going on. It's kind of a funky garden this year. It's a real hybrid. There's some no-till, there's some till, there's some whatever, but I'm really happy with the infrastructure of it. All the paths are cardboarded and mulched, and the no-till area I think is going to work really well, and we'll need to make some compost to build some of our own to to really get it to produce in the future, but it's like a really good baseline. And like in a few years, this garden has the potential of producing a huge amount of food with very little input, with very little watering and very little maintenance. So that's the intention, is just to make life as easy as possible on ourselves so we can just enjoy it and enjoy the space and enjoy the food. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.